Everyone knows East Germany's Stasi was ruthless, but nobody talks about the spy they planted so deep inside West German intelligence that he nearly toppled the entire operation. What we've been told for decades is straightforward. The Stasi, East Germany's secret police, was brilliant at recruiting informants. They had files on millions. They turned neighbors into snitches. Their surveillance apparatus was total and suffocating. But here's the thing that doesn't fit. If they were so good at turning ordinary people, why did they need something far more dangerous? Why did they invest years planting a trained intelligence officer directly into the heart of West Germany's Foreign Intelligence Service, the BND? That answer tells us something we've gotten wrong about how the Cold War actually worked. The accepted story goes like this. In the 1950s and early 1960s, the BND was staffed with plenty of former Nazi intelligence officers. They were pragmatists, not ideologues. The Stasi recognized this. They exploited it. They found men with secrets, men who'd done things during the Third Reich they wanted buried, and they blackmailed them. Recruitment through coercion. It's tidy. It makes sense. It explains why so many moles surfaced in West German intelligence during that era. But let me show you something in this file right here. This is the documentation on Heinz Felfe, not a blackmailed Nazi leftover, not a desperate defector. Felfe was a trained Soviet intelligence officer, NKVD trained during World War II, inserted into West Germany under a false identity with forged papers. He didn't stumble into the BND, he was architected into it. Felfe arrived in West Germany in 1952, posing as a refugee fleeing the Soviet zone. His cover was meticulous, documentation, backstory, witnesses prepared to vouch for him. He joined a small immigrant intelligence outfit called the Jalen Organization, which would later become the BND. Within a few years, he wasn't just working there. He was running counterintelligence operations. He was vetting other agents. He was deciding who was trustworthy. Think about the geometry of that position for a moment. You're not just stealing secrets. You're sitting in the room where they decide which Soviet agents are real threats and which are disinformation. You're poisoning the entire intelligence apparatus from inside. And because you're in counterintelligence, nobody questions your judgment. Your job is to be suspicious. For nearly a decade, Felfe operated undetected. He passed thousands of documents to his handlers. He identified genuine West German agents working in East Germany and got them arrested or killed. He fed Moscow and East Berlin everything about West German operations against the Soviet bloc. The damage was incalculable. So why did he get caught? Not because the BND figured it out, not because of brilliant counterintelligence. A Soviet defector, a KGB officer named Pyotr Popov, gave him up in 1961. Popov was interrogated by American and British intelligence, and he mentioned a mole in the BND. That single name triggered an investigation that eventually led to Felfe's arrest in 1961. But here's where the story inverts. The real scandal wasn't that Felfe infiltrated the BND. It was what happened after they caught him. Look at this memo right here. Felfe was convicted in 1963, sentenced to 14 years. But in 1969, West Germany traded him back to East Germany as part of a prisoner exchange. He walked free. The accepted explanation was pragmatic. Prisoner exchanges were normal during the Cold War. Both sides did it, but the deeper truth is stranger. Felfe had been so deeply embedded, had compromised so many operations, that West German intelligence couldn't afford to let him testify in full. A complete trial would have exposed how thoroughly the Stasi had penetrated their ranks. Secrecy was cheaper than transparency. What Felfe's case actually reveals is this: the Cold War's espionage wasn't won by the side with the best technology or the most informants. It was won by whoever could plant an officer so deep that the other side's entire decision-making apparatus became corrupted. One man in the right position could paralyze an intelligence service. After his release, Felfe disappeared into East Germany. He lived quietly, never speaking publicly. He died in 1997, taking most of his operational knowledge to the grave. But the documents, thousands of pages, survived. They're in archives now. Researchers have spent decades reconstructing what he compromised, which agents he betrayed, which operations failed because of his presence. The implications ripple forward. Every Western intelligence service after 1961 became obsessed with mole hunts. The CIA spent decades investigating its own officers, some innocent, some not. The paranoia Felfe's existence created lasted longer than his actual espionage. Fear became the real weapon. And here's the final irony written right here in this report. The Stasi learned from Felfe's success. They refined the technique. They planted more deep cover officers. They didn't rely on blackmail or ideological recruitment. They built entire false identities backed by forged documents years before insertion. By the 1970s, this wasn't an anomaly, it was doctrine. What we call the Berlin Tunnel scandal, named after the famous tunnel operation where the CIA and British intelligence tapped Soviet communications, wasn't really about a tunnel. It was about the fact that everything they learned from that tunnel was already known, because Felfe had told them for years. The real lesson isn't about Felfe's brilliance, though he was brilliant. It's about institutional vulnerability. No counterintelligence system can protect itself from an officer who's been trained, vetted, and inserted by a rival service before your organization even exists. The mole doesn't join your team is built around him. That's why, even now, decades after the Cold War ended, intelligence agencies run constant, exhausting mole hunts, not because they're paranoid, because Felfe proved they should be. One person in the right seat can unravel everything, and you might not know for nearly a decade. The Felfe case is closed, the files are declassified, but the problem he embodied, how to protect an institution from someone the institution trusts completely, that's still unsolved, and probably always will be. Subscribe every week, a new case where the stakes were nuclear, and the answer was buried for decades.